I am Marcus Rivera. I am 34 years old, and that day in July in the New Mexico desert changed my life forever. Wherever you are watching from, leave a like on this video because this story will move your emotions in a way you never imagined. It was 3:47 p.m. on a scorching Tuesday when I was driving my Ford pickup down Highway 285, heading back from Roswell to my remote ranch near Artesia. The thermometer read 42 degrees Celsius, and the asphalt shimmered like water under the merciless desert sun. I had just sold a cattle load and was looking forward to getting home, having a cold beer, and forgetting another tough day trying to keep my business running. That's when I saw her. A small, fragile figure was walking along the side of the road, about 2 kilometers ahead. At first, I thought it was just another mirage from the heat. You know how it is in the New Mexico desert, sometimes your mind plays tricks on you. But as I got closer, I realized she was real. It was a girl. A girl no older than 12, walking barefoot on the scorching asphalt, wearing tattered clothes, and covered in red dirt. Her brown hair was tangled and dust-covered, and she was clearly limping with her right foot. Comment down below where you're watching from. I want to know if there's anyone from New Mexico here who knows these deserted roads. I slammed on the brakes immediately. My heart raced when I noticed something that sent a chill down my spine. Even with the infernal heat, there was something shining around her neck. Something metallic. I pulled up beside her and rolled down the window. The heat rushed in like a furnace. "Hey, girl. Are you okay? What are you doing out here alone?" She stopped walking and slowly turned to face me. What I saw in that moment will haunt me for the rest of my life. Her brown eyes were empty, as if they had seen things no child should ever see. Her small face was sunburned, with dried tears marking tracks in the dirt on her cheeks. And then I saw it clearly. It was a chain. A metal chain around her neck, with a small but sturdy lock. "Please," she whispered in a hoarse voice, probably from dehydration. "Please, help me." I jumped out of the pickup immediately, grabbing a bottle of water from the back seat. As I approached, she instinctively recoiled, raising her thin hands to protect herself. Calm down," I said softly, showing my palms. "My name is Marcus. I'm not going to hurt you. You need water." She looked at the bottle like it was liquid gold. Her hands trembled as she accepted it, drinking desperately. Slowly, I instructed. "You'll feel sick if you drink too fast." Folks, if you're wondering how someone can do this to a child, unfortunately, the reality is even more shocking than you can imagine. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to follow the rest of this story. As she drank, I took a closer look at the chain. It was thick, the kind used to tether large animals. The lock seemed old but functional. There were red marks around her neck where the metal had irritated her delicate skin. "What's your name?" I asked gently. "Elena," she answered softly. "Elena Gutierrez." Elena is a beautiful name. Can you tell me what happened? How did you end up here? She looked around nervously, as if expecting someone to suddenly appear. I ran away," she whispered. "I ran all night. My feet." She looked down, and I could see they were covered in cuts and blisters. "Ran away from where, Elena?" She pointed vaguely to the east, in the direction where the sun rises. "From the house, from my uncle's house." A cold chill ran down my spine. "Your uncle did this to you?" I asked, carefully pointing at the chain. Elena started to tremble, not from cold, but from pure fear. He said I belonged to him. That I was his property." Her words came out broken, as if it was too difficult to talk about. He kept me chained in the basement. He said if I tried to run away. She couldn't finish the sentence. Her legs gave out, and she collapsed onto the hot asphalt. Elena! I quickly crouched down, picking her up in my arms. She was burning with fever, probably dehydrated and exhausted. I'm going to take you to a safe place, okay? You're safe now. I carefully carried her to the pickup, turning the air conditioning on full blast. She whispered something I could barely hear. He's going to come after me. He always said he'd find me wherever I went. People, I want you to imagine for a second what the desperation of a child in this situation must feel like. Leave a comment with one word that describes what you're feeling right now. As I drove towards my ranch, which was about 15 minutes away, Elena fell asleep in the passenger seat, exhausted. I kept looking in the rearview mirror, a growing paranoia taking over me. Who was this uncle? Why had no one been looking for her? How can a child just disappear in New Mexico without anyone notifying the authorities? My ranch is isolated, surrounded by about 2,000 acres of desert land, with the main house protected by a high fence and an electronic gate. It was the safest place I knew to take her while I decided what to do. When we arrived, I carried Elena into the house, placing her on the living room couch. My house is simple but comfortable, leather furniture, rustic southwestern decor, with a few Native American art pieces I inherited from my maternal grandmother. I called my nearest neighbor, Rosa Martinez, who lived about 5 kilometers away and worked as a nurse at the Artesia Hospital. Rosa, I need your help. It's an emergency. What happened, Marcus? Are you hurt? It's not me. I found a girl on the road. She's in really bad shape. Can you come here? I'm on my way. While I waited for Rosa to arrive, I sat beside Elena, watching her sleep. Even unconscious, she would occasionally tremble, as if having nightmares. The chain around her neck was a constant reminder of the cruelty she had suffered. Rosa arrived in 20 minutes, carrying her medical kit. She was a 50-year-old woman, experienced and practical, who had seen it all during her years at the hospital. Dios mío, she whispered when she saw Elena. What did they do to this child? I don't know yet. She said she ran away from her uncle's house. Rosa examined Elena carefully, checking her vital signs and cleaning the wounds on her feet. Leave a comment below. What do you think Marcus should do? Answer the phone or not? And don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapters of this shocking story. The phone kept ringing, and Elena was having a full panic attack. If you missed chapter 1, go back now because this story is getting more intense by the minute. And if you've been following from the start, leave a heart in the comments to show you're as hooked on this story as I am telling it. Don't answer. Please, don't answer. Elena screamed, gripping my arm desperately. Her nails dug into my skin, but I barely felt the pain. The terror in her eyes was more real than anything I had ever witnessed. Rosa held Elena by the shoulders, trying to calm her down. Breathe, Mija. Breathe slowly with me, see? But Elena was beyond comforting. She was trembling violently, her eyes locked on the phone as if it were a weapon pointed at her head. Sheriff Gutierrez, official. The screen flashed insistently. 7 rings. 8. 9. Elena, I said, forcing my voice to sound calm. He can't hurt you now. You're with me. But I need to know, why would he be calling me? How would he know you're here? Folks, imagine this situation. You have a traumatized child in your home, and the abuser, who happens to be a sheriff, is calling you. What would you do? Comment below. Elena wiped her nose on the ragged sleeve of her shirt. He has ways of knowing everything that happens in the county. He said he has eyes everywhere. Her voice was choked with sobs. Maybe someone on the road saw you picking me up. The phone stopped ringing. A tense silence filled the room for about 10 seconds. Then it started ringing again. Sheriff Gutierrez, official. I'll answer, I decided. But you two stay here, in complete silence. Rosa nodded and pulled Elena closer to her on the couch. I slid my finger across the green screen. Hello? Marcus Rivera? The voice was deep, authoritative, with a slight Hispanic accent typical of New Mexico. This is Sheriff William Gutierrez, from Chavez County. Good evening, Sheriff. How can I help you? I felt Elena shrink behind me when she heard the voice. I'm investigating the disappearance of a minor. Elena Gutierrez, 12 years old, brown hair, about 1.50 meters tall. She ran away this morning from the house where she was under my legal guardianship. Folks, pay attention to the coldness with which he speaks about her. Legal guardianship. Like she's just an object. I haven't seen any child, Sheriff, I replied, trying to keep my voice neutral. Why are you specifically calling me? Some drivers reported seeing a man in a blue Ford pickup picking up a child on Highway 285, near mile marker 47. Your vehicle matches the description, and you regularly travel that route. My blood ran cold. He really did have informants everywhere. Sheriff, I drove there today around 3:30 p.m., coming back from Roswell, but I didn't see any child. Are you sure, Senor Rivera? The way he pronounced my name sounded like a veiled threat. Absolutely sure. I understand. Well, if by any chance you see anything suspicious, or if this girl shows up on your property, call me immediately. She is, how can I put this, mentally unstable. She has a history of self-harm and elaborate fantasies about abuse. It's a very delicate situation. Guys, do you see how abusers do this? They plant the seed of doubt before the victim even has a chance to speak. Machiavellian. Elena was shaking her head vigorously, tears silently streaming down her face. Rosa was holding her tight, whispering comforting words in Spanish. I understand, Sheriff. If I learn anything, I'll contact you. Very well. Oh, and Marcus? Have a good night. Sometimes the desert can be a very dangerous place for those who don't know its secrets. The call ended. We were all silent for a long moment. Finally, Elena exploded. Did you see? Did you see how he is? He made it sound like I'm crazy. That I make things up. She stood up from the couch, agitated. That's what he does. That's why no one ever believes me. Rosa and I exchanged glances. The coldness in the sheriff's voice, the calculated way he had planted doubts about Elena's credibility, all of it sounded very rehearsed. Elena, I said calmly, tell us what really happened. From the beginning. We want to believe you. She looked at me for a long moment, as if testing whether I was being sincere. Do you promise you won't turn me into him? I promise. Elena sat down again, curling her legs on the couch like a scared child. If you have kids, nieces, or any children in your life, share this video. Sometimes education about signs of abuse can save a life. My parents died in a car crash 2 years ago. I had no one left, so I went to live with my Uncle William. At first, he seemed nice. He always smiled at people in the town, everyone respected him. She paused, wiping her nose. But at home, he was different. He made me sleep in the basement, said it was temporary until he set up a proper room for me. But weeks went by, and nothing changed. Rosa took Elena's hand, encouraging her to continue. He started locking me down there for hours. He said I was problematic and needed to learn discipline. At first, it was just for a few hours when I misbehaved. Then it became the whole day. Then, her voice faltered. Then he said I belonged to him. That he could do whatever he wanted with me because I was a useless orphan no one would miss. Folks, I know it's hard to hear this, but unfortunately, this is the reality for many children. If this feels heavy, imagine what it's like for those who live through this. Elena slightly lifted her shirt, showing dark marks around her ribs. He would hit me when I cried. He said if I told anyone, he'd make up a story about how I was disturbed and send me to a psychiatric hospital where no one would ever find me. Rosa whispered a prayer in Spanish, her own tears starting to fall. And the chain? I asked gently. It started 6 months ago. He said I had tried to run away too many times, so I needed permanent containment. Elena unconsciously touched her neck. He only took it off when there were visitors at the house. During those times, I had to stay in the basement in complete silence, or... She didn't need to finish. Elena, did anyone else know? Neighbors, people from school? He took me out of school. Told everyone I was being homeschooled because I had behavior problems. She let out a bitter laugh. The whole town thinks he's a saint for taking care of his difficult niece. It was almost 9 p.m. when Rosa finally managed to convince Elena to take a bath. While she was in the bathroom, Rosa and I spoke in the kitchen. Marcus, this child isn't making anything up, Rosa said quietly. I work with abuse victims for 15 years. The signs are all there. The physical marks, the psychological trauma, the way she reacts, it all adds up. I know. But Rosa, we're talking about the county sheriff. How are we going to prove anything against him? I don't know, but we can't just send her back to that monster. Folks, how many of you have found yourself in a situation where you knew something was wrong, but the circumstances made it almost impossible to do the right thing? Leave your thoughts in the comments. That's when we heard screams coming from the bathroom. Elena! Rosa and I ran there. We found Elena on the floor of the shower, fully dressed, trying to tear the chain off her neck with water and soap. Her skin was red and bleeding where she had rubbed it. It won't come off. It won't come off, she screamed, desperate. He did this on purpose. It will never come off. Rosa calmed her down while I examined the lock. It was an old model but sturdy, and the mechanism was rusted from so much use. Elena, I'll take you to town tomorrow. There's a blacksmith who can cut it without hurting you. No, she shouted. We can't go to town. He'll see us. He has people everywhere. That's when we heard the sound that made our hearts stop. Vroom. Vroom. Car engines approaching the property. At night. In the middle of the desert. Elena turned pale as a sheet. He came to get me, she whispered. I knew he would come. I ran to the living room window and peeked through the curtains. 3 police vehicles were passing through the gate of my property, which was open because I had forgotten to close it after Rosa arrived. Sheriff Gutierrez was in the front vehicle. Rosa, take Elena to the back room. Now. Folks, the tension is at its peak. What do you think is going to happen? Will Marcus be able to protect Elena? Leave your theories in the comments and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss Chapter 3. The police vehicle stopped in front of the house. I could see the red and blue lights flashing through the curtains, casting dancing shadows on the walls of my living room. Sheriff Gutierrez stepped out of the car. Even in the darkness, I could see he was a large man, about 1.85 meters tall, broad shoulders, and an intimidating presence. He walked to my front door with the confidence of someone used to being obeyed without question. Knock. 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 3 firm knocks on the door. Marcus Rivera. Sheriff Gutierrez. I need to speak with you. The confrontation is about to begin. Leave a comment below. Do you think Marcus should lie to the sheriff or tell the truth? And don't miss the next chapter. The situation is going to get even more intense. Here I was, face to face with the demon in uniform. If you're just joining now, go back and watch the previous chapters because this is the moment of truth. And if you've been following from the start, leave a protogelina in the comments to show you're on the right side of the story. Sheriff William Gutierrez was even more intimidating in person than I had imagined. Tall, about 1.85 meters, with broad shoulders from years at the police academy. His graying mustache was perfectly groomed, and his small, dark eyes analyzed me like a predator studying its prey. "Sheriff," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Isn't it late for an official visit?" He smiled, but there was no warmth in that smile. It was the kind of smile you see in horror movies, a second before the villain strikes. "Marcus, may I call you Marcus? When it comes to a child's safety, there's no such thing as too late." He took a step forward, forcing me to step back slightly. "May I come in? I'd like to take a look around your house." "Do you have a search warrant, Sheriff?" His eyes narrowed. "I don't need a warrant when I'm looking for a missing minor. But if you prefer to make this official, I can get a warrant in 15 minutes. He paused, letting the threat linger in the air. "Of course, if I have to come back with a warrant, I'll bring a lot more deputies. Maybe some FBI agents who love investigating people who interfere with police investigations." Folks, see how he uses his authority to intimidate. This is what happens when the system that should protect is the abuser. I knew I was cornered. If I refused, he'd come back with reinforcements and probably make up some excuse to arrest me. If I let him in, there was the risk he'd find Elena. "Of course, Sheriff. Please, come in." Gutierrez signaled to the deputies, who stayed outside but positioned themselves strategically, one in front of the house, one on the sides. Escape would be impossible. He entered my living room, his eyes scanning every detail. This was how a predator hunted, methodically, calculatingly. "Nice house you have here, Marcus. It must be quite isolated at night. No one to hear anything." The way he said anything sent a chill down my spine. "It's peaceful, yes. I like the privacy." Gutierrez slowly walked around the room, picking up objects, examining photographs on the walls. He was clearly marking his territory, showing he was in control. "Do you live alone?" "Yes." "Interesting. A single man, isolated, with a large property." He looked at me meaningfully. "Sometimes men like that develop special needs." Folks, do you see how he's trying to plant suspicion about Marcus? Classic abuser tactic, flip the game and make the victim look guilty. What exactly are you implying, Sheriff? I'm not implying anything, Marcus. Just observing. He stopped in front of the window that overlooked the back of the house. Mind if I take a look around the rest of the house? Just to make sure my niece isn't hiding somewhere. It was at that moment we heard a noise from the back of the house. A wooden creak, like someone stepping on a floorboard. Gutierrez and I froze. What was that? He asked, his hand instinctively going for his gun. Probably the wind. This old house makes strange noises at night. But he was already walking toward the hallway that led to the bedrooms. I followed, my heart pounding so loudly I was sure he could hear it. Elena, he shouted suddenly, his voice echoing through the house. I know you're in there. Come out now. Dead silence. He turned to me, and for the first time, the mask of cordiality completely dropped. The man standing before me was pure evil. Marcus, I'm going to ask you one last time. Where is my niece? I already told you, Sheriff. I haven't seen any child. Folks, Marcus is fighting for a child's life against a corrupt sheriff. How many of you would have the courage to do the same? Leave your comments below. Gutierrez chuckled softly, a sound that was inhuman. Do you know what your problem is, Marcus? You don't understand how things work around here. I am the law in this county. I decide what is truth and what is a lie. And if I decide that you're hiding a runaway minor, or worse. He got so close I could feel his breath. If I decide that you did something inappropriate with her, well, your life will become very difficult. Are you threatening me? I'm educating you about reality. That's when he pulled a small digital recorder from his pocket. Marcus Rivera confesses to kidnapping minor Elena Gutierrez, he said into the recorder, perfectly mimicking my voice. Admits to committing inappropriate acts with the child. My blood ran cold. He had planned everything. Impressive technology, don't you think? With some digital tweaks, this is going to sound exactly like your voice. It will be enough evidence to convict you of kidnapping and child abuse. Folks, look at the extent of corruption. He's literally fabricating evidence. Share this video so more people can see how the system can fail. What do you want? I asked. I want my property back. She's a child, not property. Gutierrez laughed again. Marcus, you really don't understand, do you? That girl has no one. No family, no friends, no one who cares whether she lives or dies. Except me, of course. His eyes gleamed with sick cruelty. And I care a lot. She serves specific purposes. Nausea rose in my throat as I fully understood what he was implying. You're sick. I'm practical. And you'll return what's mine, or I'll destroy your life so completely you'll wish you were never born. That's when we heard another sound, this time unmistakable. A door softly closing at the back of the house. Gutierrez smiled like a shark. Looks like our girl decided to join the party. He started walking toward the sound, his hand on the gun's grip. I followed, desperate to find a way to protect Elena. We reached the hallway to the bedrooms. There were 3 doors, my bedroom, the bathroom, and the guest room where Rosa had hidden Elena. Elena, he shouted again. Stop playing hide and seek. You know I always find you. The guest room door opened slowly. But it wasn't Elena who came out. It was Rosa Martinez, holding a hunting rifle aimed directly at Gutierrez's chest. Wow! No one saw that coming. Rosa became the hero. Leave a Rosa in the comments if you're rooting for her. Sheriff William Gutierrez, Rosa said with a firm, icy voice I had never heard before. I suggest you keep your hands where I can see them. Gutierrez paused, clearly not expecting this turn of events. Rosa Martinez, he said, recognizing her. Nurse at the Artesia Hospital. What are you doing here? Protecting an innocent child from a monster in uniform. Watch your words, Senora Martinez. Defamation is a crime. And so is child abuse. The tension in the air was palpable. Gutierrez was calculating his options. He had deputies outside, but Rosa had a gun pointed at him 2 meters away. "Rosa," he said calmly, "you don't want to do this. Think about your family. Your grandchildren. It would be a tragedy if something happened to them." Folks, now he's threatening her family. What level of sociopathy is this? Rosa didn't lower the gun. "My grandchildren are safe in Albuquerque. But this child is not safe as long as you're breathing." "Where is she?" Gutierrez asked. "In a place you'll never find." That's when we noticed movement outside the house. Cars arriving. Many cars. Gutierrez smiled. "Looks like my reinforcements have arrived. Rosa, you can kill me, but you won't be able to kill all my men. And when this is over, Elena will be back where she belongs, and you too. Well, accidents happen." I looked out the bedroom window. There were at least 6 police vehicles now, with armed officers positioning themselves around the house. Folks, now the situation has become impossible. How are they going to escape this? Leave your theories in the comments. "Marcus," Rosa whispered, never taking her eyes off Gutierrez, "there's a secret passage in the basement that leads to the barn. My late husband told me about it years ago. It was part of the Underground Railroad that helped people escape." Gutierrez heard and laughed. "A secret passage? How dramatic. Even if it exists, you think I won't find it? I've got all night." That's when Elena appeared in the doorway of the room, the chain still around her neck, but her eyes full of a determination I had never seen before. "Enough," she said with a surprisingly firm voice for a 12-year-old girl. "Enough running. Enough hiding." "Elena, no!" Rosa and I said at the same time. But she took a step toward Gutierrez. "You want to take me back?" she asked. "Then you'll have to drag me screaming in front of all those people outside. You'll have to explain to your deputies why a 12-year-old girl has a metal chain around her neck." Gutierrez looked visibly uncomfortable for the first time. "Elena, you're confused. Let's go home and—" "No," she shouted, and the sound echoed through the house. "I won't be silent anymore." And then she did something that changed everything. She took off her shirt. Folks, get ready because what you're going to see in the next chapter will shock everyone. Elena has finally decided to show the truth. Her small body was covered in scars, bruises at different stages of healing, and marks that were clearly not accidental. It was physical evidence that couldn't be ignored or explained. "This is what you did to me," she shouted. "And now everyone will see." Gutierrez went pale. "Elena, put that shirt on now." "No!" "You said no one would ever believe me. You said I was crazy. But look at me." She turned, showing her back, where there were belt marks and other injuries. "Look what you did." That's when we heard something unexpected from outside. Siren wails. Many sirens. But they weren't from the local police. They were FBI vehicles. The sound of FBI sirens cutting through the desert night was the most beautiful music I had ever heard in my life. If you've been following this story from the beginning, leave a justice in the comments. And if you're just joining now, go back and watch everything because this ending will move you to tears. Sheriff Gutierrez turned completely pale when he heard the sirens. For the first time since I met him, I saw real fear in his eyes. "How?" he whispered, more to himself than to us. Rosa kept the rifle steady, but a small smile appeared on her face. "Did you really think a nurse with 15 years of experience wouldn't recognize the signs of systematic abuse?" she said calmly. While you were playing cat and mouse with us, I was on the phone with my niece Maria. Maria Martinez, Elena exclaimed. She works for the FBI in Albuquerque. That's right, Mija. And when I told her about the marks on your body, about the chain, about everything, Rosa smiled with satisfaction. She told me the FBI had been investigating anonymous reports about Sheriff Gutierrez for 6 months. Folks, see how the protective network works when the right people come together. An experienced nurse plus an FBI agent equals the end of the line for the abuser. Gutierrez began to slowly retreat toward the window, but Rosa adjusted the aim of the rifle. I wouldn't do that if I were you, Sheriff. My grandkids taught me how to play shooting video games. My aim is better than ever. The sirens were getting closer. Through the window, we could see red and blue lights cutting through the darkness, but these were different from the local police vehicles. They were black SUVs typical of the FBI. Elena, Gutierrez said, trying to regain his authoritative voice, you don't know what you're doing. If you turn me into the FBI, you'll end up in an orphanage. You'll be passed from family to family like an object. At least with me, you had a roof, food. I had a prison. Elena shouted, tears streaming down her face, but her voice was stronger than ever. You stole my childhood. You stole my dignity. You stole my life. Bang! 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 FBI! Open the door! The sound came from the front door. Gutierrez was completely cornered now. Marcus, Rosa said without taking her eyes off the sheriff, go open the door for the agents. I ran to the front door. When I opened it, I saw 3 federal agents in bulletproof vests with badges shining on their chests. Special Agent Maria Martinez, FBI, said a Latina woman in her 40s who was clearly related to Rosa. We received reports that a minor abuse victim is being held captive at this property. Folks, imagine Marcus's relief at this moment. Finally, the right authorities have arrived. Agent Martinez, I'm Marcus Rivera. The child is here, but she's not being held captive by me. I saved her from the real abuser, who happens to be the sheriff of the county. The agent's eyes narrowed. Is Sheriff William Gutierrez here? He's being held at gunpoint by his Aunt Rosa in the bedroom hallway. Agent Martinez gave a slight smile. Aunt Rosa has always been dramatic. Let's sort this out. I led the agents to the hallway. The scene they encountered was surreal. Sheriff Gutierrez with his hands raised, Rosa pointing a rifle at him, and Elena still shirtless, showing all the evidence of the abuse for anyone who wanted to see. Jesus Christ, one of the agents murmured when he saw the marks on Elena's body. Agent Martinez. Gutierrez tried to regain his authority. Good to see you arrived. This man kidnapped my niece, and this woman is threatening me with a gun. The agent looked at Elena, then at the chains around her neck, then at the scars on her body. Sheriff Gutierrez, you are under arrest for suspicion of child abuse, kidnapping, and criminal neglect. This is ridiculous. I am a law enforcement officer with 20 years of service. Are you going to believe the fantasies of a mentally unstable child? Folks, even at the end, he tried to use the same tactic. But this time, the evidence speaks for itself. Elena stepped forward, looking directly into Gutierrez's eyes. I'm not mentally unstable. I'm a survivor. Agent Martinez kneeled down to Elena's height. Sweetheart, I need you to put this shirt on, okay? We'll photograph your injuries as evidence, but we'll do it respectfully, in a safe environment. Elena nodded, putting on the shirt the agent offered her. Agent, she said in a clear voice, there are more children. The silence that followed was deafening. What do you mean? The agent asked gently. In the basement of his house. There's a secret room behind the boiler. I used to hear voices sometimes. Voices of other children. Gutierrez turned pale. She's making this up. She has mental problems. I told you. But Agent Martinez was already on the radio. We need a search team at Sheriff William Gutierrez's residence immediately. Suspected multiple victims. Folks, the situation was even worse than we imagined. How many other children were suffering in silence? Share this video to raise awareness about the signs of abuse. 2 agents handcuffed Gutierrez. As they took him away, he shouted one last threat. You don't know who you're messing with. I have connections all over the state. I'll get out of this. Elena looked at him being dragged away and said something that made me proud to have known her. No, you won't. Because now I have a voice. And I'll use it to protect all the other children like me. 3 months later. If you want to know how this story ended, keep watching until the end. I'm sitting on the porch of my ranch, having breakfast. The sun is rising over the New Mexico mountains, painting the sky with shades of pink and orange. It's a perfect morning. Marcus! Breakfast is ready, a familiar voice shouts from the kitchen. Elena appears at the porch door, wearing new jeans, cowboy boots we bought last week, and a Survivor Strong t-shirt she chose at the store. More importantly, her neck is free. No chains. No marks. Free. Good morning, dear. How did you sleep? I dreamed about horses again, she smiles. Good dreams this time. The adoption process was complicated, but with the help of Agent Martinez and Rosa, who became our unofficial lawyer, we did it. Elena is now officially my daughter. Marcus, she says, sitting beside me, can I tell you something? Of course. You saved my life that day on the road. But more importantly, you taught me that I could save myself. Folks, I can't hold back the tears here. Leave a heart in the comments if you're also moved. Elena, you always had that strength inside you. You just needed someone to believe in you. She shows me a newspaper that arrived this morning. Ex-sheriff sentenced to 25 years for child abuse. Investigation reveals abuse ring victimizing 8 children. He'll never hurt anyone again, Elena says with satisfaction. And the other children? All found new families. Good families. And we still talk sometimes. We formed an online support group. Rosa appears on the porch carrying a tray of pancakes. Good morning, family. Elena, did you tell Marcus about the surprise? Elena smiles mysteriously. What surprise? I'm going to start giving talks in schools about the signs of abuse. Agent Martinez said my story can help other children find the courage to speak. Folks, see how the victim has become the advocate. This is the true victory. Elena, I'm so proud of you. And I'm proud to have you as my dad. We hug, and at that moment, I see a pickup approaching down the dirt road. It's Agent Martinez, who now comes to dinner with us every Sunday. Aunt Maria! Elena shouts, running to greet her. Hello, Rivera family, the agent says, getting out of the car. I have updates on the case. Good updates? I ask. The best. The judge just denied Gutierrez's last appeal. The sentence is final. And more. She smiles. He's been placed in protective isolation in prison because the other inmates don't like child abusers very much. Elena nods with satisfaction. Justice. Folks, this is the definition of a happy ending. The abuser convicted, the victims recovered, and a new family formed by love. But the best news, Agent Martinez continues, is that Elena inspired a new law in the state. The Elena law will make abuse awareness training mandatory for all public employees. Elena's eyes fill with tears. My name will help other children? It will help many children. That night, after everyone had left, Elena and I stayed on the porch looking at the stars. Marcus, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you think my life would have been different if someone had helped me sooner? I think carefully about the answer. Elena, your life was exactly how it needed to be for you to become the incredible person you are today. You went through hell, but you came out the other side stronger, braver, and more determined to help others. This isn't coincidence. This is destiny. She smiles. I like to think of it that way. Folks, this is the final message I want to leave with you. Sometimes the most broken people become the strongest. Sometimes the survivors become the saviors. Elena is now 13 years old. She studies at home, by her choice, loves horses, and is writing a book about her experience. She says she wants other children to know that there is always hope, even in the darkest moments. Rosa became our official grandma and comes to dinner with us 3 times a week. Agent Martinez was promoted and now leads a national task force against child abuse. And me? I learned that sometimes the purpose of your life walks barefoot on a dusty road, needing someone to believe in her. Never underestimate the power of a person willing to do the right thing. If this story touched your heart, share it. How many Elenas are out there waiting for someone to believe in them? How many Marcuses are there who just need the courage to act? Your voice can be the difference between silence and justice. Love always wins in the end. Leave a comment on which part touched you the most. And if you know someone who needs to hear this story, share it. Sometimes a story can save a life. Subscribe for more stories that matter.